21,000 acres. And as you can see, it's bounded on the east by the Turnpike, on the west by Loxahatchee Preserve, Hypoluxo Road on the north, and Clintmore Road on the south. So you just get your boundaries of it. In June of 1980, the Board of County Commissioners designated the area to be reserved from development until 2000. So they were, even in the 80s, they were foreseeing that there was going to be a lot of pressure in that area to do development. Beginning in 1998, the Board of County Commissioners began developing a master plan for the area, which is what you see there. And that took, we had consultants doing it, and went through a whole process with the farmers and the development community and everyone that was involved, the environmentalists, because a big part of it was to preserve areas for the Everglades and to make sure that we could preserve agriculture. This, in the Ag Reserve, is one of the best growing areas in the country because of the weather, the soil, and everything else. So you will see that it's really important to preserve that agricultural component. But they also had to recognize that some development was inevitable. What we heard from the farmers at that time and the people who owned the land was they needed some development rights to borrow against their property in order to maintain the ability to continue agriculture. They needed the value of the land to borrow from the banks in order to continue agriculture. So what they did was they developed this master plan, and basically what it did was it designated 2 areas for commercial. One is what Murray talked about with the marketplace on Atlantic, and the other is the marketplace that's on Boynton Beach Boulevard that's already built. Mind you, those were designated, there was a whole contest which I won't even go into, but there were 2 designated areas for commercial. And the plan says there shall be no other commercial in any other locations in the Ag Reserve. And that's the way it stands today. So from the 80s, 90s, as this all began developing, you can see that it's pretty much maintained the integrity of what it was supposed to be. It also said that a development community, a residential developer could come in, and if they wanted to develop, they could develop residential, but they had to set aside 60% of the land in agriculture, in conservation, in order to develop on 40%. So a lot of people talk about a transfer of development rights. It's really kind of developing a community. So they would buy the development rights off of, let's say it's 1,000 acres, just for the sake of discussion. They would have 1,000 acres that they wanted to develop. They would have to set aside 600 acres of that as preserve and develop on the other 400 acres. And that's the kind of thing that you actually see going on. So you're going to see, when you see those communities coming in, some of you may even live in the Ag Reserve communities. If you're living in a development, there is 60% somewhere else, not necessarily on your property, set aside as agriculture to maintain that agriculture integrity. In addition, the county actually did a bond issue. They went to the voters, and the voters approved a bond issue of $150 million in order to buy agricultural land. So all of that is also in preserve. So that's why you see so much open area. You're going to see more development because a lot has been approved but not yet actually developed there, but it's going to be limited. So we bought over 2,000 acres with the bond money, and about 2,000 acres have been preserved through the preserve areas of these development areas. So, and about 4,000 acres are owned by other public agencies. So out there, of the 21,000 acres, at least, and that's a minimum, 8,000 acres have been preserved. So that's pretty good. And of course you see the low density development and the limited commercial. That's kind of the story of the Ag Reserve.